1 year ago today, Afghanistan's capital fell to the Taliban. You'll remember these horrible images, people chasing after a U.S. Air Force plane, some even hanging on and falling to their deaths as it took off. This weekend, women's rights activists protested the Taliban takeover in the capital, chanting words like work and freedom on the streets. The protests broke up when the Taliban began firing warning shots into the air. Joining us now, MSNBC International Affairs analyst Atia Abawi and Matt Zeller, senior advisor at IAVA and advisory board chair at the Association of Wartime Allies. He is also a former CIA analyst and Afghanistan combat vet. Atia, what's it been like a year later for example, women in Afghanistan, girls in Afghanistan?
Well, Jose, basically the dark cloud of war has been replaced with a dark cloud of starvation, uncertainty, and hopelessness. 50% of the population, females, women, girls from all over the country who had hope, who had a future, whose families could hope for them, that's completely disappeared. We're seeing these women coming out protesting. These are brave women. These are incredibly brave women to go out there, to know that their faces are going to be seen. And I guarantee you, we might not see this on American television next week or in the coming weeks, but on Afghan TV, we're going to see those women being taken in by the Taliban, being forced on state television and being told to say that they were forced to do it, that they didn't want to do it. We've seen this in the past. One thing I will say, Jose, in all my time that I spent in Afghanistan as a journalist, one thing that was amazing about the Afghan people, no matter what was going on in that country, the violence that they experienced, the heartache that they experienced, they always had hope. What crushes me now is every time that I talk to the Afghan people, whether it be the women or the men, is that hope is fading fast. And it's honestly, it's heart-wrenching.
It certainly is. And you talk about starvation and the dire circumstances that many are living in. Matt, your organization just released a report that shows 96% of special visa applicants were left behind in Afghanistan. According to your survey, 92% of Afghans say they lost a job or economic opportunity due to the U.S. evacuation. 87% have had to skip necessary medical care this month because of the cost or fear. And 78% say they have personally witnessed violence towards people who supported the U.S. mission. And that's just the people that were strong enough to respond to a poll. What's the reality for people on the ground there like Matt every day?
It's hell on earth. We abandoned these people to a modern day equivalent of the Nazis. There's no place in a Taliban-held Afghanistan for women, as your correspondent has so eloquently put. That hope that she talked about, which was I kept telling anybody who would listen to me about my time in Afghanistan, these were the most hopeful people I had ever met. They were truly inspiring with their belief in a better future and the gift that our presence gave towards that. We've now abandoned them to an abhorrent, medieval force that is systematically hunting these people down. Some of the results that we found in our poll were staggering. This was the first time we teamed up with the Iraq and Afghan Veterans of America and Veterans for American Ideals to poll their membership to learn what was the extent of the veteran experience in the Afghan evacuation. Because what we've learned over the last year is veterans have not let this mission go. We continue to help try to get these people out. And what we learned was staggering. Some 40.9% of the veterans who were assisting an Afghan in the last year have reported that Afghan has gone dark. Now, there's a couple of reasons for that. It might be that they don't have access to information technology. It might be that they lost confidence in the person trying to assist them. But that really has not been the status quo for so many of us who have been involved in this effort for, in my case, years. When you assist somebody, you are their lifeline. They don't just stop talking to you. And so Akram's razor, the logical conclusion is that they're dead. We have a ton of reporting that we're going to be releasing over the next month or two that shows that we believe that there's a systemic countrywide campaign to hunt down the people who served alongside U.S. forces and murdered them. And that, by the way, is in line with what the Taliban promised at the Doha negotiations. They promised that there was reconciliation for everyone but those who served as interpreters and alongside U.S. forces. For them, they were deemed apostates, which in their perverted view of Islam means they have to be killed. Simply put, if you look at the pace at the SIV processing that the government has done in the last year, at the current rate of issuing visas, it's going to take 18 years to get through the backlog. These people don't have that time. So one of the things that I'd like to really highlight is we're calling out in our report probably the most important recommendation anyone is going to give at this moment. Simply put, the Biden administration has to create a Uniting for Afghanistan program that is modeled after the Uniting for Ukraine program. We have helped welcome over 100,000 Ukrainians via humanitarian parole into the United States since April of this year. In the last year alone, we've only welcomed 795 SIV applicants. We have to do better, and we can. There's a model for it. We should be adopting it today. It doesn't require any congressional action. The president could order it right now.